Hey guys, welcome back to Ace Recaps. Today, I'm going to explain a 2022 fantasy film titled 3000 Years of Longing. Heads up, spoilers ahead, you've been warned. The movie begins with Alethea traveling to Istanbul by plane. She's a British scholar who spends her life studying ancient stories and myths. She is going to Istanbul to speak at a conference about how ancient gods shaped modern science. As she walks through the airport, something weird happens. A glowing short man suddenly appears and tries to guide her luggage cart. He keeps talking about the mysteries of Istanbul, but nobody else can see him. Her friends arrive before she can process what just happened. On the way to the hotel, Alethea tells her friends about the strange man, and they jokingly suggest she must have seen a jinn, a magical spirit from ancient stories. She brushes it off, and they all head to the hotel. Later that day, Alethea is on stage at the conference, delivering her lecture to a large audience. She explains how ancient beings and gods were used by people to explain things they didn't understand, and how those myths eventually transformed into science and metaphors. While she's speaking, another glowing figure appears among the audience. Just like before, nobody else seems to notice him except Alethea. She tries to ignore it, thinking it's just her imagination playing tricks. But when she looks again, the figure is still there, staring directly at her. Suddenly, the figure jumps toward her. Alethea loses consciousness and collapses on stage. She wakes up just minutes later, finding her colleagues helping her to her room, while the audience gives her polite applause. The next morning, despite her friends' concern about her health, Alethea insists she feels fine and decides to explore the local markets. She wanders through Istanbul's famous bazaar, browsing through various antique shops. In one of these shops, she discovers an old bottle and decides to buy it. Back at her hotel room, Alethea decides to clean the bottle. She takes it to the bathroom and starts scrubbing it with her electric toothbrush. As she rubs the bottle, it suddenly opens, and a massive jinn bursts out, taking up almost the entire space of the room with his giant size. Alethea thinks it's another hallucination, but the jinn is very real. They can't understand each other at first. She tries different languages until she speaks ancient Greek. The jinn's eyes light up, and he starts speaking back to her in Greek. As they talk, the jinn begins touching objects around the room, curious about everything. He turns on the television and quickly learns modern English by watching the broadcasts. Once he can speak properly, he explains he's bound to grant her 3 wishes, with a few rules attached. Classic genie terms and conditions. The jinn asks Alethea what she truly wants, but she feels uncomfortable with the whole situation. She's not ready to make any wishes yet, and needs time to think. The first person ever to put a genie on hold. Before they go any further, Alethea has a confession to make about her childhood. When Alethea was a young girl at an all-girls boarding school, she was always very lonely. One day, a mysterious boy started appearing. He kept her company whenever she was going through difficult times. He told her stories in a special language that only the two of them could understand. Alethea didn't know how long he would stay, so she began documenting everything about this strange boy. But the more she tried to prove he was real, the more she started doubting herself. Eventually, she felt silly about the whole thing. She burned all her notes in the school furnace, and she never saw the mysterious boy again. Their conversation gets interrupted when room service arrives with Alethea's breakfast. The jinn disappears so she can answer the door. After the staff leaves, she hangs a "Do Not Disturb" sign on the door. When she turns back around, the jinn has transformed into human form and turned her simple breakfast into a fancy feast. Finally, a useful magic trick that doesn't involve therapy bills. Alethea asks how he got trapped in the bottle. The jinn begins his first story. This was the 3rd time he had been trapped inside a bottle. Thousands of years ago, he was in love with his cousin Sheba, the queen of a great land. Sheba was half jinn herself and had thick black hair on her legs, a sign of her heritage. The jinn was her companion and confidant, and he hoped that one day he might become her husband. But everything changed when King Solomon arrived. Solomon crossed deserts just to win Sheba's heart. Despite the jinn's warnings, Sheba eventually fell for Solomon's charm. She even removed the hair from her legs with wax to spend the night with him after their wedding. Love really does make you do painful things. Solomon, however, sensed the jinn's presence and his connection to Sheba. Using his magic, Solomon trapped the jinn inside a bottle and had a bird carry it far away, dropping it into the middle of the Red Sea, the ancient version of ghosting someone. For the first 100 years, the jinn raged against his fate, praying to every god he could think of for freedom. Eventually, he tried tricking himself by praying to remain in the bottle, hoping that wanting nothing would ease his pain. But for genes, having no desires is the closest thing to death. So basically, genes invented FOMO thousands of years ago. Alethea listens carefully, but remains unconvinced. She explains that she has everything she needs in life. She's successful in her career, even though she has no children, parents, or siblings. She mentions that she was once married to a man she met in school, but after she had a miscarriage, their relationship fell apart and they divorced. Her ex-husband moved on with someone new, and she felt a sense of freedom after the divorce. She admits that she's just built differently, smart but solitary. She finds emotions and feelings through stories rather than through real relationships. She's also studied countless stories about genes and magical wishes, and almost all of them end badly. She tells the jinn that making wishes is dangerous and that he's probably a trickster trying to deceive her. The jinn insists he's honorable and means no harm. Alethea asks the jinn what would happen if she didn't make any wishes. The jinn warns her that if she refuses, terrible consequences will follow. Suddenly, his body swells up in pain right before her eyes. Alethea realizes she has no choice but to make a wish, so the jinn continues with his second story. After floating in the sea for centuries, the bottle eventually ended up as part of a wall in the Sultan's palace. A young slave girl named Gultan found it while trying to climb the wall to spy on Prince Mustafa. When she opened the bottle and saw the jinn, she fainted from shock, a perfectly reasonable reaction to unpacking a genie. When Gultan woke up, she immediately knew what she wanted. Her first wish was to become one of Mustafa's concubines, and the jinn granted it. Gultan hid the bottle under a heavy floor tile in a secret bathroom and enjoyed her new life. Meanwhile, the jinn noticed the dangerous politics brewing in the palace. The Sultan's favorite wife, Hurrem, was plotting to protect her own sons and saw Mustafa as a threat. Despite the jinn's warnings, Gultan made her second wish, to become pregnant with Mustafa's child. Gultan proudly showed off her pregnancy to everyone in the palace, refusing to stay quiet. This attracted the wrong kind of attention. Hurrem convinced the Sultan that Mustafa was planning to take the throne, and the Sultan made a heartbreaking decision. He called Mustafa to his tent and killed him without question. When the jinn learned of this, he rushed to warn Gultan that assassins were coming for her next. He begged her to make her third wish so he could save her, but she didn't believe him and ran straight into the assassins. They killed her and threw her body into the sea. The jinn tried to save her but was blocked by a dark magician. He still jumped into the sea and pulled Gultan out, but she was already dead. Because Gultan never made her third wish, the jinn became trapped in the human world, invisible and powerless. For over 100 years, the jinn wandered the palace as an invisible force while his bottle stayed hidden. One day, two young princes, Murad and Ibrahim, sensed his presence and almost found the secret bathroom, but their mother interrupted them. The jinn followed Murad, who had hair on his legs just like Sheba, showing he was part of her family line. But Murad became sultan at 14, and his life was taken over by wars and running the kingdom. Meanwhile, Ibrahim was locked in a room with many women, with one job, to have a baby boy who could be the next ruler. He loved spending time with large, curvy women, believing that bigger meant better. Ibrahim had very specific priorities as a ruler. When Murad returned from war, his soul was dark and broken from everything he had seen. He thought about killing Ibrahim because he feared his brother might try to take his throne, but their mother stopped him. To keep Murad calm, she kept him drunk and hired people to tell him stories. Murad hated most of them and killed the ones who bored him, but one old man won him over with his tales. When the old man died, Murad got extremely drunk, and while he was in this weak and confused state, the jinn finally got his attention. Murad found the secret bathroom again, but he was too weak to even open the door. Shortly after, Murad drank himself to death. Ibrahim was then dragged out and made the new sultan. He gave one of his favorite women a powerful position. With her new power, she was free to walk around the palace, and she eventually found the secret bathroom. Her large size caused her to fall and break the tile, showing the bottle hidden underneath. When the jinn appeared in front of her, she didn't trust him. Thinking he was trying to trick her because he smelled bad and kept begging for a wish, she wished for him to go back into his bottle, at the bottom of the sea. And just like that, the jinn was trapped once more. After hearing the jinn's second story, Alethea is still unconvinced. She points out that both stories prove wishes lead to tragedy and suffering. The jinn agrees that her observation is correct, but he reminds her that making no wishes will doom him to suffer. He's trapped between freedom and imprisonment, and only her wishes can save him. Alethea asks him to continue with his third story, hoping it will help her decide. A young girl named Sphire was married at 12 to a wealthy merchant much older than her. The merchant had two other wives who hated Sphire, and everyone in the household mocked her. One day, the merchant found the bottle inside a fish and gifted it to Sphire. When she opened it and released the jinn, they quickly bonded over her intelligence and creativity. Sphire had built many inventions in her free time, but nobody took her seriously because she was a woman. Her first wish was for knowledge, and the jinn granted it by giving her countless books, which they hid in magic bottles to keep them secret from her husband. The jinn spent all his time teaching her everything he knew about the world, and they eventually fell in love. Her second wish was to see the world as jinns do, which allowed her to solve complex problems. It also made her pregnant with the jinn's child. The jinn was incredibly happy with Sphere and didn't want to leave her. So he actively stopped Sphere from making her third wish, because that would force him to return to his realm. This made Zephyr very angry. She began to think that the jinn was trapping her, just like her controlling husband always did. Whenever they argued, the jinn would put himself inside a bottle to calm things down and give her space. During their final argument, the jinn put himself in the bottle once more. But this time, Zephyr couldn't take it anymore. She wished to forget that she had ever met him. The ultimate magical breakup move. All her memories of the jinn vanished instantly, and he was trapped in the bottle once again. After hearing all three stories, Alethea finally understands. She's been lonely her whole life, just like the jinn. She loves him and wishes for him to love her back. The jinn accepts, and they spend a beautiful night together. The next day, Alethea has to return to London. She carries the jinn in a new bottle. At the airport, the bottle survives the security inspection. Once they arrive in London, the jinn struggles to adjust. The constant noise, electromagnetic waves, and signals from cell towers overwhelm his senses. Despite this, they build a peaceful life together. Whenever Alethea is at work, the jinn explores the modern world, fascinated by advanced technology and new inventions. One afternoon, Alethea comes home and finds the jinn in the basement, sleeping, which jinns aren't supposed to do. His body is slowly turning to ash because the city is killing him. Modern life is literally toxic for ancient beings. Panicking, Alethea uses her second wish to restore his ability to speak. She realizes she made a mistake by forcing their love through a wish and understands the modern world isn't meant for him. She uses her third and final wish to set him free. As soon as she makes the wish, the bottle shatters into pieces. Afterwards, she rests her head gently on the jinn's lap and falls asleep. The jinn returns to his realm once she is asleep. The next morning, she packs the jinn's belongings in a box. 3 years later, Alethea finishes writing a book about all the jinn stories. One day, while sitting in a park, she suddenly sees the jinn walking toward her. Now that he's healthy again, he can visit her from time to time, helping chase away her loneliness in a more natural way. The movie ends with them walking together through the park. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.